Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here today to talk about the Tomorrow War. And I know it's like, come on Marco, you're slacking. But I've been busy, every single day it's a new video. And, every day this week there's going to be a new video. Seriously, that's how many videos I got to do. And then I'm coming up with other videos I want to do. I want to start selling videos of like deeper analysis type videos where I actually go really in depth instead of just sort of scratching the surface like I do in all these like movie review videos where I'm just like, yeah, that's trash. That's good. That's trash, I like to go deeper, to be honest. And I do that all the time. Safi knows all about it. She says all the time that I have a deeper eye than most and that I really am more academic than I think that I am in terms of film. And it's probably true because I am a filmmaker, or at least an aspiring filmmaker. And so I really think about all those things, all these little details when I look at movies. And with the Tomorrow War especially, this movie's sort of like a Frankenstein movie because I gotta say, I heard from a viewer that it was gonna be this woke trash movie. It was gonna be a movie that was so bad it was good. So it was like it was really funny and how bad it was. But I gotta say, it did have elements of that where I was laughing at the stupid stuff, the stupid dialogue, the stupid plot decisions and characters, the cliches. But I actually kind of liked the movie. I thought it was fun. I thought that it was entertaining. And I thought that it had a lot of great ideas and little things in it all over the place that just, wow, this could have been a really great movie. This could have been the best movie of the year. It's basically it's got this Frankenstein concept of aliens invade in the future. And so people got to time travel in the future to fight that war. And basically tons and tons of people die. And they just keep on drafting people and you're forced to. And it's a 7-day tour in the future. And it's really screwed up. It's like a horror movie, and in fact, my main critique of this movie is not really with the content of the movie, it's with the concept of making this an action blockbuster comedy. This should not have been an action blockbuster. This should have been a horror movie. There were so many times in the movie where I was like, God, that's dark, that's dark. That's dark, that's really dark. Like stuff, like ideas and things that would come up, like this thing with people going in the future. And you see this group of people who went to the future and they're missing all these limbs and things and they're completely fucked up in the head. And it's like, that's not like an action movie concept. That's a horror movie concept. Like, this is like, this could have been such a great horror movie, and unfortunately we got to get the summer blockbuster. We got to get the blockbuster movie where the guy saves the world, and he's got these personal relationships that sort of thread the movie together, so it's like all focused on his family and all those cliches. And believe me, there's a ton of shit like that in this movie. But it's entertaining, and so it's like, I don't really care. It's entertaining, and it's pretty good. It wasn't that bad, but still, the concept was screwed up because it should have been a horror movie. The design of the creatures looked like something from like Cloverfield. It looked like a horror movie type of creature design. The aliens in Independence Day were not scary. The aliens in like these action movies, they're not typically very scary. These creatures have more of a horror slant to them. There's this part near the end where we see them, they're inside these cocoons, and we see their heads, and they have these 3 horns on their heads. And it's like, wait a second, this is an action movie? These creatures should be horror creatures. Like, they're really got these nice designs with that, the horns. That's creepy. That's and they have these arms sort of like Dr. Octopus, or they're all these different arms, and they grab at you and they inject you with their whatever, these little talons, or I don't know. It's kind of, they're like, they stab you, and they're like poison darts or something. Like, whatever, just throw out the logic with this type of a movie, seriously, because this movie, it's another Amazon Prime original, and it really did remind me of Bliss, which was another Amazon Prime original. It was the same type of film where it felt like this is another movie that just, it plays things very safe, and it does the same things over and over again that we've seen before. It looks the same as other action movies nowadays. It has the same, comedic dialogue. Gotta have the jokes and the quips. Nothing can ever be serious. Nothing can ever have any stakes, because we gotta have the joke where, oh, that guy doesn't know how to use a gun. Oh my God. Oh, stop it. Just stop it. And now I want to talk about the cast, because, of course, critics, these shitty, biased critics, they've been slamming this movie, saying this movie's a piece of trash, and they're basically doing it because they think Chris Pratt is evil, and I just find that hilarious, because, people still, I've seen people still use Rotten Tomatoes is a mark of quality. People still act like these critics who will rate a movie a bad rating because Chris Pratt is in it. People still use them, and their opinions is like something to listen to. It's like, why are you doing that? Like, you see so many examples of these critics being biased, talking about things they don't know what they're talking about, and making these opinions up as they go along to fit their narrative. They don't give a crap about if this movie's good or not. They just care that Chris Pratt is in it, and so they want to destroy Chris Pratt, and they're never going to do that. I'm telling you guys something else too. I follow Chris Pratt on social media. He's one of the few celebrities who I follow. He posts good posts. He's a nice guy. He's a good celebrity. I like him quite a bit. And, I do think that movies that he's in it's sort of a sign of mediocre quality, because, what happens a lot of the times is you get these bad scripts, and they cast Chris Pratt because Chris Pratt is known. And so a movie that has a known actor versus an unknown is going to do better than the unknown one. Just naturally, unfortunately. And so he's in this position where he's in a movie like this, and this movie it's mediocre, and it's really like it's a wasted opportunity, and it's just kind of like, That being said, it's still fun. It's still fun. I didn't hate it as much as I thought that I would, because when I went into it, I thought that it would be like another shitty, like, Bliss. It would be another Amazon Prime original type of film, where it would be this, like, really mediocre movie, and it's really trash, but it's still fun. And it was that, but somehow it managed to be higher because of the cast, and the cast in this movie was really good. That's one of the saving graces of this movie that actually brings it above mediocre a little bit, because you got Chris Pratt. I was almost going to say Owen Wilson because I was talking about Bliss. But you got Chris Pratt. Fantastic. He's really good in the movie. There are some parts where he's kind of bad, like I'm not going to spoil, but the emotional moments where he has to yell and he's really upset, it's like, come on, like, this is just laughable. But then you also got J.K. Simmons, who's good. And well, obviously he's better than good. He's great. But in this movie, obviously, he takes a bit of a back seat to Chris Pratt. And then you got this other guy who plays like a vet of the future war. He's gone to the future a million times because he's dying and he wants to fight in the future because he doesn't want to live a boring life anymore. He just wants to fight and then die in the fight instead. And he is played by the guy who was in My Teacher Ate My Homework and in As Above, So Below. And it's really nice. I was really glad to see him because he's a really good actor. I like seeing him in things. And if I had known that he was in this movie, I would have watched it a lot sooner. I would have watched it opening day if I knew he was in this movie. So it was cool to see him. It would be cool to see him star in a movie instead. Obviously I'd still like to see Chris Pratt star in movies, but I'd really like to see this other guy who played, his character's name was Dorian. I'd like to see him star in movies because he's good. And he gave off like a badass vibe, like he could lead a movie. And honestly, kind of more badass than Chris Pratt, because Chris Pratt spends most of this movie worrying about his stupid family instead of worrying about the quote-unquote war. And then you got let's talk about one of the bad parts about this movie. Well, okay, I'll say the woman who played the daughter of Chris Pratt when she's older, she did a really good job too. I liked her, even though she kind of had some SJW qualities written into her. She did a good job, and I thought that she was serviceable for the role. And one of the worst parts was there was this other black guy who I think his name was Charlie, and he was complete garbage. He started out and he was in line in the recruitment place, and he's like just cracking jokes like, oh my god, this situation is really, I talk when I'm nervous, I'm really upset. And it's like, he was just so not funny, and he really dragged this movie down because he was like a pussy the whole movie, and then at the end he does something useful for once. And that's kind of his arc, that's a typical blockbuster type of arc. And he was just complete trash. He was not funny. And then, oh god, I can't spoil anything. I just wanted to spoil something. Stop it, Marco. Fuck. I can't spoil. I don't want to spoil and make you guys upset. I'll talk about it in the spoiler section, but he was just complete trash, and he really didn't need to be in the film because you already got Dorian, and Dorian was so much better of a character, and you should have had him be the sidekick instead of being like this mysterious sort of background character, and then he becomes a character and more important by the end. Instead of that, you should have just had him be the side character for the whole movie, because it would have been much more enjoyable. And also, there was another very, very minor part played by Mary Lynn Rajcub. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, but she was in Punch Drunk Love, Californication Season 7, and I thought that she was really good for the minor part that she had, and I thought you should have had her be more in the movie. You should have had her be the daughter, because she's a much better actress. I love it whenever she's in something. If I had known that she was in this movie, I would have watched this day one to see her, to see the guy who played Dorian. I mean, they're both great actors. I want to see more of them. Let's have them star in a movie instead of this. Chris Pratt, he's done a lot of stuff. And I want to talk about something else too, which is the fact that it was really funny at the end, because there's this part where Chris Pratt, he's in the dark and he's talking to J.K. Simmons. And I swear to God, he looked exactly like Nathan Drake in this moment. And I thought, whoa, mind blown. Chris Pratt should have been Nathan Drake. J.K. Simmons should have been Sully. And then you get some of their interaction, and it's like Nathan Drake and Sully. I was like mind blown. Like, why didn't I think of that? Chris Pratt should have been Nathan Drake. not young Iron Man, Junior Iron Boy, Tom Holland, little preschool Iron Man. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to rate this movie because I got some more spoiler-heavy flaws. So, obviously, this movie... Sorry about that, guys. My iPhone overheated while I was shooting, so it just turned off and stopped the recording. Fucking iPhone. Anyways, so I was just giving sort of a rundown of this movie's pros and cons. The pros are, I think that it was a fun movie. It was an entertaining movie. It was a good movie. You know, it's a good 4th of July movie, honestly. Like, well, it's past now, but it would have actually been good to watch on 4th of July. And to jump to a con, it did not have good action. The action was trash. There was a fight at the end that was actually pretty cool, because the fight sort of kept going on and on because the villain kept on adapting to their to what they would do. So I thought that was cool, but the action was just not good. And so that's another reason why this should have been a horror movie, is because if you're not innovative enough to come up with new original action sequences, then don't do action. You know, don't do an action movie if you can't make great action, like in Rambo, like in Die Hard, I guess is fine. Predator, Predator's a horror movie. You know, this could have been like Predator, because, well, I guess this is kind of a spoiler, but not really. But they have this question where it's like, why can't we see footage of the war? Why can't we see pictures of the enemy? Because the enemy is so scary that would not be a wise decision, because no one will want to go if we showed them the pictures of the enemy. And it's like, come on. Because then when I saw the enemy, it's like, are you serious? I've seen scarier stuff in video games. I have seen scarier stuff in actual horror movies. And I guarantee the people in this universe, they're not these, they're not, they have horror movies. They have horror video games. They have creatures that look scarier than the ones in this movie. I mean, that was just laughable. That logic. We can't show you pictures of the enemy because the enemy is too scary. That's just stupid. That is just complete. They could have done something where it's like, when the enemies send out their signals talking to each other, the signals disrupt cameras and make cameras unusable. They could have done that. They could have had it where it's like, oh, people try to take videos, but they're too blurry. Or the monsters, they destroy the cameras with their claws and their Dr. Octopus arms. You know, they could have done a number of things. And instead they used the excuse, the enemy is way too scary for you to see them. I thought that was stupid. Now, there are some SJW elements of this movie for sure. Not very many, though. You know, just because this movie's very diverse doesn't mean it's naturally SJW. And I think that is something that a lot of people need to realize, is that for a movie to be woke and to be a propaganda movie, that doesn't mean that it has to be that doesn't just mean because it's diverse that it's suddenly woke. And so I think that this movie, it wasn't actually that woke, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. There were some things, though. A very recognizable trait of SJW movies is that a male character will be instructed by a female not to do something, and then the male character has to do it because it's the right thing to do, and then the female yells at him and berates him and lectures him and all that. Well, that happens in this movie. It also happened in Toy Story 4 when Woody is told not to do anything, just stay in the closet. And then instead he goes to kindergarten with Bonnie. You know, what happened? That shitty bitch female toy yells at him and tells him, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. That's a very typical SJW thing to do. because it's a chance for the female character to yell and basically just verbally abuse the male character of the film. And basically to make him less of a male, like to make him less masculine by having him be yelled at and be belittled like that. And I thought that was kind of weak. There were some other things too, like at the beginning there was this like really cringy thing with Chris Pratt, and he's talking about like how his class, they should all get really interested in science, and scientists are really, they're like superior beings, basically, is what he said. And science is the main ingredient, it's the key to everything, and science is the most important thing of all. No, it's not. And let me say this, scientists are not superior beings at all. There's nothing special about science or scientists compared to anyone else on this universe. You need a plumber as much as you need a scientist. And that's just facts. And so that was kind of like... but other than that, this movie really was not SJW at all. I guess you could kind of look at it in certain ways, but I really did not see it that way. So I thought I was glad about that, because I was really worried that it could be, and I was going to be like, ugh, Chris Pratt, what were you thinking? But no. So overall, what I would rate this movie, it's tough because this movie at the end of the day is not that good. It's a movie that it's one of the better, it's definitely, I would say this, it's one of the top 5 of the year. But I don't know if it's a movie that'll ever be remembered, ever. It was not unique enough. It was not smart enough in its writing. The writing was bad once again. The script, it's funny because it's like every review I always repeat, the script was bad, the writing was bad, because that's always the biggest issue. And why? Because scripts nowadays, they go through writer after writer, they get written like 10,000 different times, and they're not unique, and they're not good scripts. So I think that script writing is something that Hollywood, among a million other things that they need to work on, script writing is the main issue with movies nowadays, I've decided. The cast was solid. Anyways, I'm going to rate this movie. I just can't think of what to rate it. I mean, it's such a Frankenstein generic type of film. You know what? I'll give this something generic Frankenstein type of rating. I give this movie, this movie reminds me of fast food. It is just fast. It's something we've seen a million times. It's something everyone loves because it's convenient. McDonald's. Let's go to McDonald's. Let's get a quarter pounder with cheese, some fries, and then a fucking milkshake. That's what this movie is. It is a quarter pounder meal at McDonald's. It's generic, and it's assembly line movie. It's an assembly line movie because it's just, you got all the typical things from a blockbuster movie nowadays. There was nothing really special about it. The time travel element was actually the worst part of the film. They had this stupid explanation for like why you can't time travel to certain points, and it was basically just for plot convenience, like so that they can't solve the war quickly, because then that would end the movie. So they have to only travel, and it's like this stupid analogy that this guy made where it's like, I don't know, something about rafts floating down a river or some stupid shit. And I was like, the first act of this movie was okay. It had a lot of these great elements that would have made for a horror movie. It was a very scary situation to think about. What if just random people were drafted to be time traveled into the future? It made me kind of sick. I kind of got a stomachache watching that, but just thinking about what it would be like. And then the second act was trash. It was just very generic action. the war that he was fighting, it really did not feel that scary, and it did not feel intense. The action was not good. The stakes were not high. I knew that everything would be okay, except for the side characters who are just disposable side characters, like the fat guy. That's another thing. They got the generic fat guy who falls, and it's like, oh, look, the fat guy falls because he's fat, and then he dies, of course. And, stupid shit like that. But actually, the third act was, to me, the best part of the movie. The third act should have been the whole movie. Instead of doing the stupid time travel stuff, you should have just had the story of the third act with, spoiler alert, they basically go to Russia to look for where the aliens actually were, because I guess the aliens actually crash landed, and then they're in they're underground in ice. And I thought, wow, that would have been a really great movie. Just make that the whole movie, and you would have had, like, the best movie of the year. But instead, you had to do this, like, generic time travel story that we've seen a million times. Anyways, wow, that was a long video, even for such a simple and mediocre movie. Please like this video if you liked it. Comment. I'd love to have a discussion. I'm sure I made a couple of flubs. I just finished the movie, and I wanted to, get this review out there since it's a late review. And I apologize for that. It's just, I see these movies that come out, and I'm like, God, which one should I watch? Should I torture myself and watch a feminazi movie that comes out? Should I watch that generic blockbuster? It's a tough call. And then also, please subscribe to our channel for more movie reviews. I promise I'm going to have a ton of content coming. Safi will be participating. In fact, Safi's the one who wanted to review this movie. But she said... But she's so distracted and so just in outer space that I guess she forgot it existed or something. I mean, she hasn't mentioned it at all or anything. And so it was actually her idea. Like, I didn't even know about this movie, to be honest, until I saw it pop up and everyone's talking about it, talking about the biased critics giving this movie bad reviews just because Chris Pratt is in it. You critics, you're not going to do anything. You are really embarrassing, these critics who just want to cancel everyone who's conservative or who might be conservative. Fuck off, biased critics. Anyways, that's it. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon for probably... The next video will either be about Boss Baby 2 or No Sudden Move or Matilda. Goodbye!